This is KPPQ-LP Ventura, 104.1 FM, and we're in the women's room, where we appreciate and support each other. I'm your host, Kathleen Good. My guests today are Evan Carpenter and Elizabeth Rodeno. Evan is the chief engineer at CAPS Media Center, and Elizabeth is the project manager at CAPS. In the Women's Room was made possible because of these two people who created our new radio station, KPPQ. Patrick Davidson, general manager of CAPS, did the important administrative and funding for this project. Evan and Elizabeth did the groundwork and the physical labor that created Ventura's newest media outlet. Out of almost nothing, they're here to tell us how they did it. So, Elizabeth, could you first tell us your title and describe some of the work that you do here at CAPS Media?
Okay. I am, I guess you'd call me a project manager, and I manage a lot of the projects that come through here. And one of the projects that we took on was the development creation of a radio station. We had the opportunity to get a license and build the station, and we're on the air.
Wow. So. I understand you had some previous radio experience. Could you tell us about it?
Oh, I spent my college years at a college radio station, as well as volunteering at other local community NPR stations. So I really enjoyed it and thought it was a great outlet for people to be behind the mic as opposed to being in front of the camera.
So you've kind of come full circle here in your career.
Yes.
Cool. So Evan, could you tell us a little more about your background and your work experience? How long have you been at CAPS?
Well, I've been at CAPS about 10 years all told. I came and went a couple times, but I've been here about 10 years overall. I've been 35 years in television production.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Worked in my broadcast background is in news, so I came out of the news trenches.
Oh, wow.
Where I was live 3 times a day, 5, 6, and 11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So were you an announcer or were you in the background?
No, I was always in the control rooms and at the technical end of it. My title in news was called technical director, and so I was in a control room during the shows, making it happen, pushing the buttons that make it happen.
Wow, that's some good training.
Yeah.
So what are some of your other roles here at CAPS TV?
Well, like everybody at CAPS, we have a small staff, so we all wear a bunch of different hats, and that's true of Elizabeth, and that's certainly true of me. I mean, my title is engineer, but we all do everything. We all deal with members that come in the front door. We all deal with checkouts. We all have a role in teaching classes, working with the kids and the other programs. So, we all do a little bit of everything here. The engineering part of it includes projects like building this station, and some of the other facilities that are here are things that I've built and maintain and keep going.
And you built a mobile studio?
Yeah, we built a truck that's in the backyard to do mobile productions with. Built the playback system that's currently keeping us on the air. About to, when I get this project finished, I'll go into the studio and rebuild the studio.
Wow. So tell us about where we're sitting right now. I understand this was once a storage closet.
It was indeed, and that's been one of the challenges of this build, is that 2 months ago, this was a storage closet jammed to the ceiling with equipment and just big metal shelves full of stuff. And so we had to get that all out of here, and then we've had the room painted and carpeted and made it a little more usable. The part of the problem with it being a closet is that a lot of the air conditioning and stuff runs through this room, so that's been one of the big challenges, is making it quiet enough in here, and you can still hear a little hiss in the background, but we're getting there.
I see you have these big foam rectangles.
Yeah, and that's all
around.
Lots of acoustic foam. That's part of the effort to hold down some of the air conditioning rumble. We're also right next to the server room, which is pretty noisy too, so we're trying to isolate the two rooms from each other.
So, Evan, did you ever build a radio station before?
Nope. This will be my first one.
Wow.
Built lots of stuff, like we were talking about, built lots of TV facilities, but this is my first time building a radio station, yeah. And some of it applies, some of what I know from building TV facilities applies, and some of it doesn't,
Oh.
so.
I heard you say that you made it up as you go along. Wonderfully
Yeah.
creative statement.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I say that in silliness a little bit, of course, but there's some truth to that too, because a lot of it, you get into it and then you find where the problems are and you find the obstacles and you have to overcome them as you go. And to that point, yeah, you do kind of make it up as you go along. You sort of have this or that challenge and you look for a way around it.
But you did do research. Tell us where you looked and how you figured all this out.
Yeah, Elizabeth and I were just talking actually that it's been just about exactly 1 year since our first big field trip, where we went to Sacramento and to Davis, California, which is just outside of Sacramento. And both of those operations are very similar to this, where it's a community access television station that added LPFM to their operation. And so that made that was so valuable going there, because not only is it a similar operation where they added LPFM to community television, but it also allowed me to have a look at the station and figure out what I needed to do to build this one.
Did any one thing stand out as the most useful information?
Well, I was pretty, I'm sure Elizabeth would say the same thing, but I was pretty much a sponge during that trip. I needed it all. I mean, I have I have lots and lots of TV experience, but no radio experience, so I needed to learn it all. And so, did a pretty good job of annoying everybody at both places with thousands of questions, I'm sure, and taking lots of pictures and trying to, for me it was kind of understanding the workflow for somebody working in here to do a show. What do they need? What's kind of the physical layout they need? All of those things.
So, Elizabeth, tell us a little about the FCC license and how CAPS got into the radio medium.
3 years ago, the FCC opened the airwaves and offered additional frequencies on the radio dial for low-power community radio stations. And so we happened to apply for one, as many of the local community access centers did. We fulfilled the requirements and applied for a construction permit. And then we were allowed a certain amount of time to get the radio station on the air. And so we, felt it was really important to continue, supporting the First Amendment by offering, another venue for people to share their stories.
Yeah. So, Evan did the physical work of building the studio. What was your role in planning and creating our own local radio station?
Well, I think we're working alongside Evan. We work together to figure out a workflow of how to get DJs in here, how to plan it and put together programming and kind of a structure to bring DJs in to offer them, give them the equipment they need, and then put together their training and, bring them in to produce their own shows. And I think both of us were focused on making it as simple as possible, so that the goal here is to let people share their stories and let people produce content and not worry too much about the equipment.
And anybody can do that if they become a member of CAPS. Wow. So I want to ask both of you, I'll start with Evan, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome?
Well, there was a couple. I mean, one was the physical nature of this room, like I was talking about. This was a storage room, and it is a noisy storage room, and so making it suitable for this purpose has taken a lot of thought and a lot of effort. The other big issue has been the tower. We're erecting a tower on top of the building, and that set us down the whole path of needing building permits and needing engineering and needing approval from the city and the planning commission. And I hadn't been down that path before, and that's been a big learning curve to find our way through all of that and get the right help that we need and get the right engineering help and get it done in a timely fashion. We are under a bit of a time crunch with our license from the FCC, and so one of the bigger hurdles has been finding Patrick, our executive director, has been really helpful with all of that and working with the people from the city to get us the permitting and get us the engineering. That's been probably the biggest hurdle that I've faced, but also kind of the newest thing too, is to learn all of those ropes and learn what has to be done to make it legal and get the correct permitting and so forth.
So you can't just kind of go out on your own here. You have the FCC, they have standards you have to meet.
Well, yeah, there's multiple jurisdictions. I mean, there's the FCC, and all of their requirements need to be satisfied, and so, things like the emergency alert system, which is new, that's not something we need in the cable TV end of it, and that's something that we have to have here as an on-air radio station. So, lots of those requirements for the FCC. We also have all the requirements from the city to make sure that it's permitted correctly and that it's structurally good and that it's legal. We're on a college campus, so we needed their permission. There's been lots and lots of agencies involved.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Elizabeth, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome in your role in this?
I think initially, I was the one who was really enthusiastic and wanted to push this through. And on top of everything else we do, I thought it was really valuable. So I think sharing my enthusiasm with, other people and the board members. And, I think Evan and I gave them information and showed them other community centers who are running radio stations, how valuable it was. And I think everybody bought in and realized that, this was a great opportunity for the city to have their own community radio station.
Wow. So, Evan, could you describe some of the equipment you've installed here, just so people get a feel for the radio studio?
Yeah, I mean, the core of this room is the console, just off your right elbow there. And, just as in a television studio, sort of the video switcher becomes sort of the core of the equipment. So it is here. That console there is the heart of everything in this room. Everything comes and goes from it. So that's probably the most important thing, and something I spent a lot of time choosing and looking at features and all of that. Plus, we've got all the other little things that you need. We've got CD players and a turntable and microphones, obviously, and that kind of thing. A place for people to plug in their own laptops. We also need an automation system to keep the station on the air when there isn't actually people in here talking as we are now. So for when there's nobody in the station, we needed playback automation to keep the station on the air. And so that's been another learning curve, is picking that system and configuring it and getting it all working.
And I can attest this console is pretty easy to operate, because we were just adjusting the levels before we started recording.
Yeah, and this is a big part of the goal. I mean, I don't think you and Elizabeth spent too much time in here before you're able to do a show, and that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, I attest to this. If I can do it, people, you can do it.
And by the way, Kathy, congratulations on being the first one to actually be producing shows in here. That's a big moment for us and for you. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I would like to dedicate this work to all the women. And we're allowing some men in here,
Yeah,
so.
Am I allowed to be in the women's room? I meant to ask you that. But
yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
you are. You've
Good.
met certain criteria.
I passed the background test or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
It's people liberation we're talking about. So I wanted to ask you, Elizabeth, about the call letters for our new station, if you can repeat them again, and tell us how you went about getting these.
Well, the call letters are KPPQ, and because we're a low-power FM station, we have to add LP after the call letters. And it was just a matter of selection of what call letters were available and what was kind of interesting and different, and sort of found that this was, unusual call letters, and thought it would be, good for the station.
So you have to go through kind of like an email and, to find one that is not taken.
Right, you go
Yeah.
through the FCC website,
Oh, I
and
see.
it has all of that stuff.
And they all start with K. Does that have a significance?
No, the West Coast starts, all the call letters start with a K, and the East Coast, all the call letters start with a W.
Oh.
And I'm not sure where the dividing line is, but it's somewhere around Oklahoma.
Oh, kind of.
Oklahoma, Texas, somewhere
Uh-huh.
in there where the dividing line is, so, yep.
That's interesting. So, Evan, what needs to be done yet? And, just tell us about some of your future additions to the radio station.
Yeah, I mean, what I've built here so far is intended to be the backbone. I mean, this is the core of the new radio station, but, we're starting this from scratch. There was certainly no radio station here before. So what I've built here is the core, the backbone, enough to get it on the air and get it running, and then we'll add more features as we move forward. Capability to do live remotes, that would be a big one. Field recorders so that people can go out in the field and record interviews and bring them back and be able to edit them and put them on as part of a radio station. All of those things will need to be fleshed out a little bit more as we go along. What you see in this room right now is, like I said, it's intended to be a backbone. We can add everything else we need onto this as we go, but this is the core that we need to get it running and get it on the air.
So, for example, I could go to an event, with a recorder and interview someone, and then bring it in, edit it, put it on the air with the show.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the model here is that it is very much like the community access TV part too. So to be able to produce stuff in the field, to be able to make shows on any format, on any topic. So as I look at hardware and stuff, that's what I'm looking for, is I'm looking for the pieces that we need. And as I move forward in the future, we'll flesh it out and develop it just like the TV, We started out with a very basic studio, and we've added more and more things into it to make it more self-contained and give it more capacity and more capability. And it'll be the same here, too. We'll add pieces as we go to allow us to do more things and allow you as a volunteer DJ to do more and more as we go forward.
So would the editing have the capacity, for example, to take out background noise?
Yeah, to a point.
Oh,
I mean,
uh-huh.
I always tell people in the TV end that there's no more dangerous words than we can fix it in post.
Yeah.
That's those are dangerous words.
Yeah,
but there is stuff
appreciate
you can
that.
do. There is stuff you can do to fix problems in the editing. Mostly it'll be about just packaging, You go and you interview somebody, or you interview 3 or 4 people, you need to be able to package that so you have clips to play back.
Uh-huh.
And, so all of those sorts of things will come over time.
And you'll be training prospective DJs,
Yeah,
including myself.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, Elizabeth and I have been talking that really there's 2 parts to the training. My part, which is to teach people how to operate equipment, and her part, which is to teach people about programming guidelines, what they're allowed to do and not do, all of those things, how often we have to do station IDs, all of those kind of considerations. So there's 2 distinct pieces that people who use this facility will need to know.
Okay.
And then down the line, we'll introduce other classes for, programming skills, diction and storytelling, and, a lot of, more complex studies
Oh,
to
wow.
help DJs. So
Put on a better show.
Put on a better show,
I like
improve the
that.
program.
I'll be
Right.
signing up. So what types of programming, Elizabeth, can our audience look forward to?
Well, because it's community radio station and because it's produced by members of the community, there are a variety of options. There's your standard music, there's talk, there's news. Community organizations can come in and produce their own shows. DJs can bring in local community people. We're looking down the road to covering, we can cover sports, we can cover music events. There's a lot of stuff we can do down the road. And here in the studio, we can have musicians come in and perform too. It's a small studio, but, there's room enough for
A small band?
Couple musicians. So, pretty much everybody has an opportunity to, create the show they want to create.
Okay. So what type of station will this be? I know you said LPFM, but could you, tell us a little more, describe that for our audience?
So a low-power FM station is a station that broadcasts at 100 watts, which is broadcast approximately 3 to 5 mile radius. So it will cover pretty much all of Ventura. And we are non-commercial. And as we're associated with a nonprofit organization, CAPS Media, we operate, in a nonprofit, non-commercial status. So there will be no commercials, though we will have underwriting and sponsorships, which will be available to get, community organizations and businesses in and get their, improve their awareness and the community's awareness of them.
Okay. So will Venturans be able to access from home or car radios?
They will be definitely be able to access it on car radios, because that will be broadcasting on 104.1 FM.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, they'll be able to access it via streaming, so it will be from our website. There's a web page devoted to the radio station, and that information will flow through there. And down the road, we're looking at creating an app so that people can have a KPPQ CAPS radio app on their phone.
Oh, cool.
And listen, to our programming.
Oh. So who can apply to do a show, and what's the procedure?
Okay. So you need to be a member of CAPS Media, so you need to fulfill the requirements, which is to work, live, or go to school here in the city of Ventura. And then you'll join the radio station membership program and go through all of the training, and then deliver a project proposal, and we'll discuss where we're going to fit it into the schedule, and see, if it's the right show for the station, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so will a prospective host or DJ have to do an audition?
Yes.
Yes. So they'll submit a tape, or?
Yes, submit a short audition tape.
Okay. You have to be a member?
You have to be a member, yes.
And how much does membership cost?
We're looking at probably $50 a year to become a member of the radio station, and then the $25 a year membership for CAPS.
Oh, okay. So, Evan or Elizabeth, you can jump right in here. What are some of the advantages for Ventura to have its own radio station?
Well, it is broadcast over the air, and that's a big difference. The TV is only available at home, and it's available through cable or online through streaming, but this will be over the air, which is certainly new for us. You can hear it in your car, and it's certainly another way, it's another way to distribute information, and a way that we haven't had before at all. So it really opens a new venue for people to get word out about things in the community or events or issues going on.
And you don't have to, customers have to be a cable customer in order to see CAPS TV.
Exactly. So to go over the air and be able to hear it in your car or just on your home stereo or whatever, that's a big difference for us.
It really opens it up to the general public.
Sure, yeah.
Elizabeth?
Yeah. Well, and also I think Evan mentioned that because we have an emergency alert system set in place, that will also be a place to go when people need information about emergencies that happen in the community.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Elizabeth, CAPS has been providing video broadcasting for many years. Will radio increase the membership to the Media Center, do you think?
I do think so. I also think it will provide an opportunity for those people who aren't interested or who find a video production challenging to be able to come in here and produce radio shows, sit behind the mic, and share their stories in a more comfortable environment. And often what we find is that there are often two different groups of people who come in, and there are people focused on radio and then others focused on video. And once we started talking about this, lots of people are coming in going, when can I join? When can I get on the air? Because it's just a new and different thing in the city. And I think it's another way to engage people and bring them in.
Right, right. So do you anticipate that members might do both, radio and video, television?
It's certainly up to them.
Oh.
Some of them are producing videos right now, and videos provide a certain, they use it as a tool, and it helps what they do. It's also possible that what they film and broadcast can also be broadcast over the air.
Yeah, it's something that I was really interested to learn during our first field trip when we went to Sacramento and to Davis, California. It was really interesting to me that they attract very different groups of people. And they were finding that they weren't getting that much crossover between the TV and the radio end. People weren't tending to do both. They were attracted to one or the other. And that's very interesting to me. And I know that that's a goal for Patrick as executive director, is that he wants to attract a new group of people, so there's more people using the facility. And Elizabeth's quite right. We find that some people start down the road of training to use the TV studio or whatever, and they don't have enough people to help them, or they find it intimidating because there's a lot to it. And so this is an easier way to get your message out, an easier way to make a show.
Okay. So Elizabeth, I think we should read at this point the CAP's mission statement, and then perhaps you could tell the audience how that fits with the radio broadcast.
Mm-hmm. So our mission statement is to create an engaged and informed community through the participation in electronic media. And I think that this is another opportunity for the community to become educated and informed, and, use the media in a different way.
Okay. Evan, now we've mentioned this a little bit in our talk here today, but you're going to be providing training. So how can prospective announcers or hosts sign up for that? Are there any prerequisites?
Yeah, I mean, we're still working on that part of it, but the prerequisites part is no, not really. I mean, just as in the TV end, we welcome people who have zero video production experience, the goal here is the same too. You don't have to have ever done radio before to do a radio show here. That'll be our goal, and the training will be built towards that model. Like I say, it's the same in the TV. We have lots of people that come in here that are doing TV shows that have never made a TV show before. So we're bringing them up from the very beginning and walking them through the process. And it'll be the same with radio too.
So it's truly democratic.
Very much, yeah. The whole goal. We're big free speech advocates around here, and this totally fits in with that.
Right, and making it easy really allows the general public to come in and exercise
Yeah,
their freedom of speech.
it's low cost. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to
Right.
have a lot of experience. You don't have to have any of that to exercise your free speech rights. and
Right.
Talk to your city.
Just can't beat it.
Yeah.
So, do you have a timeline to begin training? A rough one? I know you said you're still in the process of setting that up.
Yeah, I mean, we're still figuring out curriculums and all of that. Elizabeth, maybe you can jump in on that one. I know the station has to be on the air in early February, so.
Or mid-January.
Or mid-January,
To be sure it's
yeah.
operational. I think we're going to be beginning training. I'm putting it together and doing some preliminary training, such as I trained you, and, in the next week or so, and then we'll begin in January.
Oh, sounds good. So, Evan, I understand the City Planning Commission approved the tower on December 15th. So you can go ahead now and put the tower in place.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got to go through the permitting process, the safety and engineering aspects, but those are things that we had already started with, but the Planning Commission approval was critical. We had to have that before we can mount the tower, and so December 15th was an important day for us because we went before the Planning Commission and they heard our proposal and they approved it. And that means now we can get a building permit, we can hire a crane, we can do all of these things and get everything in place to put it up. So we still have some work to do with the city, and we'll be over at the permitting desk, I'm sure, talking with them. But the Planning Commission, because they only meet once a month, too, was critical that we pass that hurdle. And
Right.
we have now, and very happy to see that the Planning Commission was excited about this project, and they did support it, and it was nice to get that back from them, that they saw value in it and they wanted to proceed, so that's good news for us.
Yeah, so how great do you both feel about this?
Very good.
Oh,
Very good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
we-
excited.
Merry
We're-
Christmas.
we had somewhat committed ourselves to this path, so it was nice to have them come on board and approve it.
Right, right. So Elizabeth, you've already mentioned that CAPS is a non-commercial station. Are there any special FCC rules and regulations for broadcasting, and what are they?
Well, they're quite, it's quite extensive. So it certainly would be, I think, that we cannot, broadcast commercial content or commercial promotions of businesses in a way that, just like the TV has, you cannot do call to actions. You cannot say this is the best place. You cannot say, go here and for a discount, or it's my favorite show or my favorite music. So, we have to follow those guidelines, as well as tracking everything that's played on the station needs to be tracked, particular music, so that we submit it to the different licensing agencies. And, what we're looking to do also is to be able to look to rebroadcast these shows, so that we can, offer the opportunity for people to see them at different times.
Right.
So there's a list of a lot of stuff that will be provided during the training to follow those guidelines. It's being licensed by the FCC is a much more comprehensive and important licensing structure than community TV is. And so we really have to follow specific guidelines, and they really watch everybody. And so we have to be sure, in order to protect our license and protect the station, that we follow the guidelines. But it will all be outlined in the training. It's pretty extensive.
Right, so does the FCC come in and have an audit, or?
Yep, they can.
Oh.
They can.
Oh, right.
So,
Tell us a little about the news feed. How will that work?
well, I think what we're going to be doing is there will be some weekly or daily news programs coming from other organizations. So we will be broadcasting Democracy Now!, which is a show that comes out of the Midwest. I think it's a non-profit, non-commercial show. As well as, requiring our DJs to talk a little bit about community news. And it's certainly up to them to decide what they feel is important. But we want to be sure we engage the community and keep them up to date on what's happening around town.
Okay. Well, thank you both for creating this wonderful radio station and for telling us how you did it. This
Well,
is
thank you.
KPPQ-LP Ventura 104.1 FM, and we've been in the Women's Room. My guests today were Elizabeth Rodeno and Evan Carpenter. I'm Kathleen Good. Goodbye.